Okay, this segment I want to talk about factors in a residential home that can potentially raise or lower the risk for that house. One of those is maybe you're up on the hillside where radon risks might be higher, but if you're on a hillside that causes the basement back door to be a walkout basement, that really helps, because every time that door opens or closes and there in the basement, in a walkout basement, you're going to be flushing radon concentrations outside. So that's going to dramatically help your radon reading in the house. Another would actually be, and this is the last thing that a lot of us think of, is actually a combustion air source. Now that is that usually it's a 8-inch diameter pipe that just brings in that cold air from the exterior, and a lot of homeowners don't really know what it's there for. A lot of homeowners will put a pillow in it or cover it up in some way because it's just a direct draft from the outside, 5-degree air out there into the house. And its purpose is to replace the air that is leaving the home through the water heater flue and the furnace flue. But when it is there, it prevents the home from being a vacuum. Like I'd mentioned earlier, if the home needs to create a vacuum to bring the radon in, then this combustion air source eliminates a lot of that vacuum. And so without that being intended to be a solution to the problem, it goes a long way. So if you got a combustion air source in the house, in many cases that will drop your reading quite a bit. Crawl spaces on the same level. Now I used to live in a home closer to the east side where you had higher radon levels, and we were just on the outwash area of a local canyon, and from seeing other homes in the area that were being built, I knew that we had looser soils. There was a lot of granite rocks and washout rocks that had come from the mountains. So we had numbers that were fairly high. I tested, as the home inspector, I tested one of my neighbor's homes, and he had a 10, and I'd heard that there were 15s in the area, etc. In my particular home, it was a 2-story, and then they decided to build an addition. Somebody before me built an addition on the north side that was only a laundry room and some space above it. But beneath it, it was crawl space. And so you had pretty much direct contact between crawl space soil and basement living space. This is a problem because if you've got crawl space, then the radon gases can move very easily and quickly into the crawl space, then into the living space. And this is what was happening with my neighbors too. He had, in his basement, he had finished living space over here, and then with only a bedroom grade door between the two, he had crawl space over here. And as part of his crawl space, he had the furnace and water heater and those sorts of things over there. And so the radon was getting in over there, going through or underneath the door, and then getting into the living space there in the basement. And his number was the 10 that I had mentioned. The fix for that, of course, when you can, is to seal A from B. But in his case, that was extremely difficult, and he really couldn't do that. So then you got to go with subslab mitigation, and we'll talk about what that means. So yeah, if you got the crawl space on the same level, that's what that's happening. If you've got your basement well below ground, you're going to have higher risk levels there. Again, that's because radon gets trapped. If you don't have that, for example, the basement walkout exterior door, maybe your basement is just one big deep space that air never leaves, you're going to have higher radon levels there. If you've got the clays or high groundwaters, if you've got gravels or granites or minerals, that's going to affect what's going on down there. And then of course your unfinished basement space will often be a little bit higher just because people aren't opening doors and windows and moving stuff around and out. So those are risk factors, or risk increasers or decreasers as the case may be, as to what your home inspector should be looking for as relates to potential homes that may or may not be higher for radon. Next section, we're going to talk about some of the mitigating factors as relates to EPA's studies, and we'll be back.